Deep Purple, and jetzt sind Candice Night und Richie Blackmore bei uns im Studio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Black Knight, I was just saying before, it's one of those riffs that you never forget, and one of those songs that you never forget, I think. What do you feel when you listen to these old songs by Deep Purple? Are you still very much in touch with this time, or are you glad it's all over?
A little bit of both. That Summertime, that actual riff came from a song called Summertime by Ricky Nelson. The actual riff that goes, the part that goes, that comes from somebody else. So it's not quite original, but we took it anyway. Nobody said anything, and it did quite well. But it's one of those riffs that the audience sings along with.
Yeah, also the Smoke on the Water riff, which is the only riff I can play on the guitar.
Right. It's interesting how they tell people when they go to music shops, do not play Smoke on the Water.
Why?
Because the people that work in the guitar shops have heard that riff so many times, and they request that it not be played.
Das ist ganz lustig. Richie Blackmore sagt gerade, wenn man in einen Gitarrenladen geht, dann spielt wahrscheinlich jeder auf allen Gitarren immer zuerst dieses Riff von Smoke on the Water, und das kann einfach niemand mehr hören. Deswegen sagen die Leute immer, bitte spielt das nicht. Aber dieses ganz berühmte Riff von Black Knight ist tatsächlich nicht von ihm, sondern von Ricky Nelson. Aber damals haben sie es einfach benutzt und niemand hat was darüber zu sagen gehabt. Und der Song ist ja auch sehr, sehr erfolgreich gewesen. Und einerseits hängt er noch an dieser Zeit, aber andererseits ist er auch froh, dass sie vorbei ist. Also es ist eine Art Mischung aus beiden. But the new project, Blackmore's Night, is that a reference to Black Knight or to your last name?
It's actually the last names. We didn't know what to call it, but we thought we needed to have my name in there somewhere, although I thought twice about that even. We were going to call ourselves the Pre-Minstrel Band at first. That was just a play on words. But of course, my name and her name, we thought it might, there's a double kind of meaning, really. It's Blackmore's Night, plus it's two names.
Yeah.
Plus it conjures up a lot of imagery. I think Richie's always been known as this dark persona. So especially the cover of the album shows it's sort of like the beginning of Blackmore's Night. This is where he lives, in this nocturnal kind of creature coming out. So it's got both of them.
And what about yourself? I mean, are you a kind of nocturnal person as well?
Absolutely, yes. I sleep later than he does. But I think that's where we both get our creativity from. We draw more on the nighttime than we do the daytime.
Right? Also die beiden sind Nachtmenschen offensichtlich.
Yes. We tend to go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, but then they wake us up sometimes at like 8 o'clock in the morning. The people are building a house next door to ours. So for the last 6 months, all we've been hearing is people banging and crashing. It's difficult because you're coming across here, there's a 6-hour time change.
Yeah.
Which sometimes.
Where do you live these days?
We live in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
But not in the city?
No.
Okay.
So we're still on that time change.
Also Sie haben noch ein bisschen Jetlag. Sie wohnen jetzt im Moment in New York. Normalerweise gehen die beiden immer so gegen 4 Uhr morgens ins Bett. Candice sagte gerade, die meiste Kreativität hätte sie selbst auch nachts. Sie ist auch ein Nachtmensch. Und Richie Blackmore wurde sowieso immer eher so mit düsteren Bildern in Verbindung gebracht als mit hellem Tageslicht. Und das spiegelt diese Platte eben auch so ein bisschen wider. Also der Anfang von Blackmores Nacht. Also die Zusammenstellung hat eigentlich nichts mit Black Knight zu tun, sondern mit den beiden Familiennamen. Also Blackmore und Candice heißt mit Nachnamen Knight. Und diese Kombination ergibt dann eben auch diese Platte. How did you two meet? Were you a Deep Purple or Rainbow fan or anything? Or?
Not a die-hard fan. I heard the songs that were on the radio. I had gone to see them play about 6 months before I actually met Richie. They were playing the Meadowlands with Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses, and I always say that when Guns N' Roses finished, Deep Purple was supposed to come on, and I went in the back and I sat down until Smoke on the Water came on, which is when everybody rushed up to the stage. But about 6 months, it must have been fate, because about 6 months after that, I went to work for a radio station on Long Island in New York, where I live. And they had a soccer game that was going on. It was going to be the Deep Purple versus my radio station soccer game.
Who won?
So I went to go, of course, they did. He's a great soccer player.
No, not really. I had the team rigged. I had all my best friends that are the best players in the area.
He always says that. He's got great fancy footwork.
So you worked at the radio station, and that's how you met again?
I went to cheer on my team. I had nothing to do with him. I wanted my team to beat his team. And afterwards, I went to congratulate him on his team winning, and I asked him for an autograph, and he looked up at me with his English accent and said, you know, you're a very beautiful girl. And that was my story. That would have been my Ritchie Blackmore story. I could have told my friends, 5-minute story, that's it. But he sent 3 of his roadies through the crowd to find out who I was and to make sure that I met him afterwards for a drink. And we wound up talking till about 6 o'clock in the morning, all night long. And then I had to go to school 2 hours later, so I was a wreck that night. But we clicked so well in every way, in the musical way, in spiritual way, in hobbies that we had, and just our frames of mind were clicked so perfectly that even a couple of weeks later, he went on tour. I would get postcards from all over the world, from Israel and Bangkok and all over the place. I mean, these phone calls are crazy hours. And one thing led to another, and here we are, 8 years later.
Perfect story. I have to translate it real quick.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Also eine ganz tolle Geschichte, man sollte sich ein Beispiel daran nehmen. Die beiden haben sich kennengelernt, Candice war auf einem Deep Purple-Konzert, wo die Purple zusammen mit Guns N' Roses und Aerosmith gespielt haben. Und dann hat sie Ritchie 6 Monate später wieder getroffen, weil er mit seiner Band und noch ein paar anderen gegen ihr, also sie arbeitete bei einer Radiostation in New York und das Team der Radiostation hat gegen die Purple Fußball gespielt, Soccer. Und sie hat natürlich für die Radiostationsjungs gecheert und geklatscht und wollte eigentlich gar nichts mit den anderen zu tun haben, aber hat ihn dann doch um ein Autogramm gebeten und so haben sie sich kennengelernt. Er hat sich von 3 Roadies ausfindig machen lassen in der Menge und irgendwie haben sie dann sich die ganze Nacht unterhalten und ja, so ging das dann eben weiter. Okay, so now toll und mystisch und auch ziemlich ruhig und schön klingend, Shadow of the Moon von Blackmore's Night. So is that your break from loud rock and roll?
Yes, I think so. It's something that I've been playing for about 20 years, but I've never put it on record. Not the actual record, but the actual type of music. And it was when I met Candy, I would often play this type of music around the house, and then she would join in singing, and that's how we started with it.
I read somewhere that that your father forced you to take classical guitar lessons when you were a kid.
That's true. When I was 11.
Is that your late revenge?
When I was about 11, when I had the guitar bought for me by my father, he said, if you don't learn this guitar properly, I'm going to put it across your head. So I kind of had to learn it, otherwise he would smash it over my head.
Yeah, so you had to go through Bach and all this?
I loved it.
Well, it's great.
Yeah, but I wasn't really good enough to play Bach. I tried to, but it gave me a good foundation for the music that was to come.
Yeah. Ja, that's really important, I think. Also er hat als 11-Jähriger von seinem Vater eine Gitarre bekommen und der hat ihm gesagt, wenn du jetzt das nicht anständig lernst mit klassischem Unterricht, dann hau ich das Ding über den Kopf. Und dann hat er das auch gemacht und hat auch Bach gespielt und solche Sachen und ist natürlich schwierig. Und er meint, er wäre nicht gut genug gewesen, um das immer weiter zu spielen. Und so hat er dann irgendwann angefangen, Rock zu spielen. Und die Idee für diese Platte, die spukt im Prinzip seit über 20 Jahren in seinem Kopf herum. Und er spielt auch diese Musik oft so vor sich hin, hat es aber noch nie auf Platte gebracht. Und als er dann eben Candy getroffen haben, haben die beiden dann sich überlegt, dass sie daraus auch mal eine Platte machen können. But you've always had this, you've always been working a little bit in this classical field, haven't you? I mean, there's a time when even Deep Purple worked in that direction.
That's right. In about 1970, I think 69, we did a couple of concertos with the orchestras and things. But that was really not my, not what I wanted to play. I wanted to play rock and roll. That was something that John Lord wanted to do, but we did it. It was more of a novel publicity thing.
Yeah.
And this is kind of different. It's the difference between classical music and Renaissance music.
Yeah.
We're taking from the 1600s more. Like 4 of the tracks that are on this CD are from that period, the 1500s, Tillman Sasato, which is The Clock Ticks On, and Play Minstrel Play, Renaissance Fair. And really we're trying to bring that to the attention of the people. There are a lot of purists out there playing this music, but there hasn't been this crossover, and we're trying to make a bit of a crossover to making a pop ballad kind of Renaissance music. So there's no label for it yet. Hopefully there will be.
Oh, soon. There's a label for everything. Also mit Sicherheit wird es bald auch eine Schublade geben, wo man das reinpacken kann. Er sagt gerade, bisher gibt es wohl noch keine. Auf dieser Platte wird hauptsächlich Musik aus der Renaissance als Anregung verwendet. Also 4 der Stücke sind halt so 1500 so und so im Grunde genommen geschrieben worden. Zum Beispiel Minstrel Play und so weiter. Das ist ein Stück, wo Ian Anderson auch mit drauf spielt. Ian Anderson?
That's right. We asked Ian to play on Play Minstrel Play because we wanted him to, we didn't know if he would want to play or not, so we asked him to play on that one track. And he said yes, so we were really excited. And then we heard later that he told a few friends that he was a little bit disappointed because he didn't play on more tracks. So I saw him 2 days ago and I said, if I'd have known you were interested, I would have put you on the whole thing.
Ja, classical misunderstanding. Es gab ein kleines Missverständnis da zwischen Ritchie Blackmore und Ian Anderson. Sie haben ihn gefragt, ob er mitspielen möchte auf der Platte und er hat ja gesagt und Ritchie Blackmore hat wohl gedacht, okay, dann tun wir ihn jetzt auf ein Stück und dann sind wir ganz dankbar und dann hat er eben auf einem Stück gespielt, aber hinterher kam dann raus, er hätte auch gerne noch auf den anderen mitgespielt. Das ist schade, dass er es nicht gemacht hat, aber naja, die Platte ist ja auch so ganz gut geworden. Also sie wollten im Grunde genommen so eine Verschmelzung von Popmusik, Balladen mit Musik aus dem 16. Jahrhundert mit dieser Platte so erreichen. There was one other question that I wanted to put you about the riffs. People always say that you are one of the best riff guitar players in the world. Like you invented some of the most interesting riffs that you can't get out of your head. Is it very difficult for you today to invent new things? Because when you started doing that, everything was very new. I mean, rock and roll history wasn't that long, and riffs like the Smoke on the Water riff were really new to our ears. And these days, it's like you have heard everything everywhere before.
Very true. Although I still play that hard rock music that I play, I don't think is really played that much by bands anymore. We're into alternative and pop. So it is relatively easy to come up with new riffs. Whether people want to play them or for them to be on the radio, that's the hard part, not the actual writing. It's getting that, as they say, product played on the radio. Because sometimes it can be thought of as an old-fashioned kind of way of playing. But I kind of don't believe in fashions. I believe in just playing what I play.
Also ihm fällt es immer noch nicht schwer, gute Riffs zu schreiben. Ich habe gerade danach gefragt, man hat ja heutzutage immer das Gefühl, alles wäre schon erfunden worden und schon gemacht worden. Und damals, als die Purple angefangen haben und eben diese legendären Riffs er komponiert hat, da gab es eben noch nicht alles. Und er sagt, es wird, so wie Sie damals Gitarre gespielt haben, spielen die meisten Bands heutzutage gar nicht mehr Gitarre, weil man das teilweise heute als altmodisch empfindet. Und es gibt halt viel so Alternative-Musik und das ist eben schon was anderes. Aber er schafft das immer noch im Prinzip genauso wie vorher. But I have to ask you this one last question.
No,
Everybody
you don't.
wants.
I won't answer. Okay.
Will there ever be another Deep Purple reunion with you on the guitar?
Yes, when I'm about 100.
100?
Which is about 5 years away.
Also in 5 Jahren, sagt er mir gerade, wenn er dann 100 ist, das lassen wir jetzt mal so stehen, wird es dann vielleicht noch mal eine Deep Purple Reunion geben. Well, thank you very much for coming to the studio.
Thank you.
Lying to me.
Okay.
Are we going to see you on stage with that sometime?
Oh yes, we'll be doing a short castle tour, probably in August.
A castle tour?
Castle tour. We're going to play various castles throughout Germany.
Oh.
And we have a small band, which is 5 people.
Yeah.
And we'll be playing all the castles. And because we often stay, when we're on holiday here, we stay at castles. So we know all the castles that we're going to play. We're just playing the banqueting halls.
Neuschwanstein and stuff.
And no, not Neuschwanstein. It would be places like Hagelock, Waldeck, Wartburg.
Very nice. That's a nice way to spend the summer. Also im August gehen Sie auf Tour mit einer 5-köpfigen Besetzung und werden diese Platte vorstellen. Und zwar wird es eine Tour über die Schlösser sein. Also auch gleich richtig angenehm, weil Sie immer, wenn Sie in Deutschland sind, gerne in Schlössern wohnen. Nicht so ganz große wie Neuschwanstein, aber eben sehr schöne. Und da werden Sie dann diese Platte spielen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.